Tonight on KGW News, why one Oregon county is declaring a state of emergency over marijuana. Plus, you'll have to show proof of vaccine to go to most big events in Washington. Then,
Portland's supposed to be weird, right? That's its reputation. It's not supposed to be dangerous. And right now, it's dangerous.
we talk to the FBI about its mission to stop the shootings in Portland. But first, cultural and city leaders come together to try to clean up Old Town.
It's a tragedy that it's gotten this bad.
Your news starts now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday night. For weeks, we've been telling you about growing frustrations in Old Town over crime, trash, and public camping. It's especially troubling to cultural organizations like the Lansu Chinese Garden. They're asking city leaders to meet with them about the problem. Tonight, one city commissioner did just that. Catherine Cook has the story.
Inside the gates of the Lansu Chinese Garden, thousands of people seek tranquility, a brief respite from the grind. But look just outside the gates. Those who run the garden say what's happening here is jeopardizing all of it.
I have had staff in the last week assaulted. I have had staff in their cars chased with people chasing after them with metal pipes. We had somebody die on the streets right next to Lansu.
Elizabeth Nye is executive director at Lansu. She says they've hired private security to police the area, and nonprofits have agreed to clean the sidewalks. Jobs Nye believes the city should be doing.
This is a citywide problem. It's a tragedy that it's gotten this bad.
Portland City Commissioner Mingus Mapps is responding to Lansu's plight. On Thursday, Mapps met with Nye and directors of 3 other cultural institutions in Old Town. The meeting was in response to a joint letter the director sent to Mapps and other city and county leaders asking for help.
I will have succeeded in helping them when I actually change the reality on the ground. When I get that trash picked up, when I get people who are currently sleeping on the streets and in need of mental health care inside in shelter and connected to mental health service providers.
Mapps says his office has already asked police to increase patrols in Old Town. He's also looking ahead to the city's fall bump to ask for some public safety reforms, including hiring more police officers.
And we literally do not have enough police officers to respond to all the 911 calls that we have. Right now, we're losing about 12 officers a month to retirement or going to some other bureau.
Mapps says he'll also push to expand the police bureau's behavioral health unit and supports expanding Portland's street response. After their meeting, Nye from Lansu told KGW that the group appreciates Mapps' prompt response and specific ideas. However, she said, we are concerned that many of these initiatives, which are connected to the fall bump budgeting process, still means that Old Town will need to wait until March 22nd at the soonest for many of these to begin. To that end, Nye noted this problem is older than this year and says it's discouraging that it took this letter to start seeing action. 2 other city commissioners responded to KGW regarding the letter. Commissioner Dan Ryan said in part, Old Town needs our support now more than ever. No employee, resident, or tourist should fear for their physical or emotional safety because of where they work, live, and play. Commissioner Carmen Rubio said in part, I want to acknowledge the deep concerns I've heard when talking with some of these organizations and community leaders. Significant planning and engagement is happening as we speak to take necessary steps forward on these issues in the coming weeks. Mapps, who took office in January, says he looks at Old Town on a citywide scale as he tries to make a difference for the future.
We have not been served well by pretending like it doesn't exist.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
All were bystanders caught up in this historic level of violence that we're seeing here in our shared community right now.
The FBI is now offering a substantial reward in one of Portland's worst shootings of the summer. Federal agents hope $25,000 will encourage someone to speak up about the unsolved murder of Michaela Harris. The 18-year-old graduate of Grant High School was shot and killed on July 17th. 6 others were hurt in the early morning mass shooting near Southwest 3rd and Oak downtown. The FBI says gang members appear to be responsible. In a news conference, Special Agent Kieran Ramsey read a statement for the family.
This is the day that took my daughter's innocence away. Her life was violated when she was only doing what many young people do, hang out with friends.
So far this year, there have been more than 925 shootings in Portland. That's up from 388 just 2 years ago. Anyone with information about the shooting or with video prior to, during, or after the shooting is urged to contact the FBI or the Portland Police Bureau. The FBI is trying to help Portland police curb the city's historic level of gun violence. Through the Metro Safe Streets Task Force, an FBI agent responds to every gang-related shooting in Portland. The FBI's Kieran Ramsey, who you just heard from in that last story, sat down for an in-depth interview with our Kristen Severance. He talked about what's working and what's not from a federal perspective. He said the biggest challenge of stopping gun violence in Portland is the availability of guns and the unwillingness of witnesses to talk to police.
Are you worried it's just going to get worse?
I certainly hope it doesn't. Again, this is it's already as bad as it can be right now. You know, one of the fears I have is sometimes in engaging with folks, I hear this equivalency argument. Well, this is happening all over the country. Portland's no different. Again, I'll go back to what I said before. Look, Portland's supposed to be weird. It's not supposed to be dangerous.
You can watch Kristen's full report on the FBI's efforts by going to the KGW YouTube channel. You'll soon have to show proof you've been vaccinated to attend major events in Washington. Governor Jay Inslee announced the requirement today. It comes as the deadline for state workers to get the COVID vaccine is coming up on Monday. Drew Mickelson has the latest from Olympia.
The governor says COVID cases are dropping and the vaccination rate is rising, but he says if we want to keep schools and businesses open, more needs to be done. So while vaccinations have been recommended at large public events, and some teams have already done that, like the Kraken and the Seahawks, the governor wants to make it mandatory at all large public events. So you'll either need to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of an event, and that starts November 15th. This new rule covers indoor events with more than 1,000 people, like conventions and concerts, and outdoor events with more than 10,000 people, like football games. Exceptions include large religious services and K-12 school events. Despite all the positive trends, the governor says we cannot take our foot off the gas.
What we have done to date, the status quo is not adequate. We do not have enough protections. We do not have enough people vaccinated to give Washingtonians confidence that this number, this wave, another wave is not going to hit us.
Monday is the deadline for the state's 60,000 state employees to prove that they have been vaccinated if they want to keep their jobs. There was some hope that maybe the governor would extend that deadline. Today, he made it clear that will not be changing. He knows the state could lose a couple of thousand longtime state employees, but he does not see an impact to any state services. He says, quote, "We'll be just fine."
The number of people in the hospital with COVID in Oregon is down 50% from the high point in early September. And with that, the Oregon National Guard is beginning to pull out of the hospitals. They rush to help. Salem Hospital had as many as 167 service members helping in a variety of jobs. Some screened visitors at the front door, others delivered food to patient rooms, and some folded sheets and made sure nurses had what they needed. The chief nursing officer at the hospital said the troops have been a huge help.
So having the National Guard here has just been instrumental in terms of our morale. They've offered a sense of protection. They've helped us navigate this crisis. It's been just quite frankly overwhelming for all of us.
Across Oregon, 1,300 Guard members helped out in 50 hospitals. By Monday, the Guard will cut that number by 25% and then by another 25% at the end of the month. Nearly all troops will be out of hospitals by mid-November. New at 11, one Oregon county is declaring a state of emergency over illegal marijuana grows. Jackson County says there are so many unlicensed growers, they need help from the feds in cracking down. It comes as state agencies just wrapped up a massive operation to inspect some farms. KGW's Alma McCarty found out more about why they're cracking down. Alma?
Well, a bill passed and signed by the governor this summer allowed the Oregon Department of Agriculture and the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission to see whether registered hemp farms were actually growing marijuana. It turns out many of them were. The key difference here is the amount of THC, the compound that makes people high. In a state where recreational marijuana is legal, growing cannabis can still be illegal if farms don't go through the proper licensing channels. Take, for instance, the big bust in Washington County late last month. 800 pounds of dried marijuana and 5,700 plants seized. An estimated value of $6.5 million, according to deputies. Operation Table Rock was a different kind of effort, taking place in 2 counties, Jackson and Josephine in southern Oregon. Bryant Haley with the OLCC says alongside the ODA, inspectors looked at more than 300 registered hemp grow sites.
Are people actually growing hemp versus marijuana? We had people saying that they were growing hemp where the hemp tested at 34% THC, where it's supposed to test at 0.3%.
The OLCC reports test results from 212 sites show 58% of the samples tested positive for THC. Haley says the problems go beyond the plants.
We saw people sleeping in hoop houses. We saw people sleeping on farms. We saw, livestock issues. And environmental degradation. I mean, some stream beds and tributaries have been drained.
Given the number of issues Operation Table Rock uncovered in just 2 counties surrounding illegal grows, Haley said the OLCC's operations will likely expand.
We have to take a look at this holistically and say, what are we doing? How are we going to do this better as a state? How are we going to keep bad actors out that are taking advantage of our beautiful state and not paying back into the system that we all agreed to? So it's a large problem, and it needs to be addressed and needs to be thought through so that people can continue to run honest, good businesses that provide a quality, clean crop.
Haley tells me the illegal grows are sending products out of state but couldn't specify to where at this time. The OLCC and Department of Agriculture are still reviewing the results collected from this operation.
Thank you, Alma.